For the last, I guess, almost 3 years now, I have loudly and proudly proclaimed my affection for Google's Pixel Fold devices. And even though they did abandon the form factor, I think I will probably forever prefer the form factor of like a mini flagship that turns into an actual tablet over a fairly large phone that turns into an even larger phone. There's definitely utility here, but I really, really, really love this. Even though they did abandon this form factor, I've told you guys that my favorite foldable is still a Pixel Fold, whether it is the original Pixel Fold or the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. That is my preference. They have cameras that are incredibly consistent, despite the hardware being a little bit iffy. The battery life is quite solid, but then there are like a million little features like best on planet Earth voice typing. I love Gboard's proofreading feature, Pixel Studio call screening, secure face unlock, Magic Editor's ability to zoom photos out, and I could just go on and on and on. There are so many things about Pixels that I absolutely love. But somehow, despite everything that I love about Pixel Folds, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 has done something that no other foldable has been able to do. It has become, and this is just as crazy for me to say as it probably is for you guys to hear who've been watching my channel for a long time, it is now my overall favorite folding phone. Now, I do have to sort of quickly address the elephant in the room. I've talked about this as well. My first gen Pixel Fold story was fraught with issues. My original one, the screen spontaneously cracked. Google replaced it with a refurb model, and that screen spontaneously cracked like 3 months later. This is my third replacement, my second replacement, my third overall Pixel Fold, and it has held up fine, but it doesn't really get used a whole heck of a lot. And in my Pixel 9 Pro Fold, guess what? The screen didn't crack, but it lost the ability to read a physical SIM, and Google had to swap it out too. So between 2 generations of Pixel Folds, I have had 3 warranty claims, and that has definitely sort of thrown some water on the fire of my love for these phones. But here's the thing. All of that had happened, and I had every other folding phone besides the Z Fold 7. I had the Oppo Find N5, right, which is a phenomenal phone. And I was constantly switching my SIM between the Find N5 and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. The Oppo Find N5 could not pull me away permanently in the way that this Galaxy Z Fold 7 has been able to. I have had absolutely no desire to move my SIM out of that phone. Even while I had the Honor Magic V5 here in the house, I had it for 2 weeks before I was allowed to even talk about it. I had no desire to put my SIM in that phone. I was happy and am happy with the Z Fold 7. So what is so great about the Galaxy Z Fold 7? Well, to put it as briefly as I can, there's just nothing that's really wrong with this phone. Both screens are now finally a size and a shape that I like, and I find myself being happy to use either. With the Z Fold 6, every time I used it, I was just opening the thing up because that outer screen just wasn't quite good enough for me. It was really, really close, but again, I almost always ended up opening the thing up. With this thing, I really feel absolutely fine using either screen because they're both just normal now. This is not what I would call a cover display. Technically, it is a cover display, but stick with me for just a moment. When I think of a cover display, I think of a thing that you're going to use to quickly return a text message, check out a notification, something basic like that. And then when you want to use the phone, you're going to open the thing up. That is not really what we have here. We have a proper phone and a proper tablet, and that is awesome. Unlike prior years, it's also no longer particularly thick or heavy. In fact, it is extremely thin and light. When you compare this thing to the Z Fold 6, you can see how much of a reduction this actually is. This thing still felt very brickish to me and kind of somewhat uncomfortable because of that. This thing, guys, unless you've held it in your hand, unless you've really experienced what it's like to hold this thing, you just don't really understand. Maybe if you've used an Oppo Find N5 or an Honor Magic V5 or something like that, you're definitely in that same territory. The crease is less noticeable. Both screens are as bright as any foldable around. I think I've already shown this in my hardware video for the Honor Magic V5, but the screen is brighter. Both screens are brighter than the V5, than the Find N5, than the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Now, the Pixel 10 Pro Fold might be able to actually topple it, but for right now, it is still right there at the very, very, very top, and it's a joy to use even outside. And somehow Samsung has done this with a hinge that is apparently good for 500,000 folds. Very few other OEMs have managed to pull that off. I guess I should say Honor has. But again, that is very impressive. The speakers don't have the same sorts of sacrifices that Oppo made on their speakers. These things just aren't very loud. They don't have a lot of like bass and fullness. They just don't sound very good. These speakers are fine. They're not the best speakers in the world, but hey, they're not sacrificed to the god of thinness like Oppo did. And I know that I'm going to make people angry, but even the battery life has been, and you can hold your breath for this one, it's been fine. This is actually going to be a little bit misleading. You may be thinking, Shane, you've only got 2 hours of screen time and you've got 57% of your battery left. Isn't that really bad? Well, that would be if that was actually the case. But here's the thing. I've actually been restricting my charging. I've not been charging to the full 100%. This is coming from 85%, and I've been out of the house quite a bit on cellular data. So you have to account for all of that stuff. Here's just the simple fact of the matter. I use the phone as I need to use it, and even if I don't charge it, it's going to make it through the day for me just fine. Is it in the same category as the V5 or as the N5? Is it going to last as long as these phones? No, absolutely not. And for some people, I'm sure you do exist, that's going to be a problem. For me, for my use, it makes it through the day just fine. And luckily, like I've said a million times, I have chargers all around me all the time. You guys saw the video that I posted of that 3D printed stand that has a wireless charger built in. It sits right there at my desk. So while I'm working, more often than not, this thing just gets placed, sat down on that charger and charges. So when I'm using the phone like normally, this is the reason I'm restricting it from going to a full 100%, because it just gets plopped down on a charger a lot. I'm going to bed with like 65, 70% battery left. So the battery is just not an issue for me. And of course, they've even improved the cameras, right? So the primary camera in particular is the big improvement. It is a new, much larger 200 megapixel sensor. It should be basically the same sensor that they're using in the S25 Ultra that I'm actually filming this part of the video with now. And the results for that have been, I think, very, very good. It is, like I said, larger, higher resolution. So the low light performance is better. The shutter speed is better, so there's less motion blur. And they've even dialed back on their over-exaggeration of colors to the point that I honestly think that this camera, the primary camera, is as good as any foldable out there. And I have compared it, and you'll see more of this, but I have compared it to the Honor Magic V5, and it's right there. The ultra-wide has been improved a little bit. It does have larger pixels, which means it can gather more light. That means it's going to have more detail and quicker shutter, all the same things I just mentioned. And you can tell it is a little bit improved. It's a perfectly serviceable ultra-wide. Now look, that telephoto is definitely the elephant in the room. It is beginning to show its age, and it's not as good as I would like. But here's the reality, because everyone wants to just immediately assume that it's going to be absolutely terrible, but they never said a word about the telephoto on the Oppo Find N5. And why would they, you would say? Because it is higher resolution. But here's the thing, guys. In real life, when you're just taking photos, the performance of this telephoto and this telephoto are not that different. I've shown you some samples. I'm probably showing you some more right now. It is not as bad as you think it is. If you think the Find N5 Tele is fine, and you think that the Z Fold 7 Tele is just this awful piece of garbage, I don't know what to tell you, because it's just not been my experience. It's fine. It's nothing like the Magic V5 or the 5X on a Pixel or something like that. It's definitely a weaker point, but it's not that big of a deal. And then, of course, we have the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and it is fast and it is performant, and the animations all look very, very good. This is a very fast and smooth device, even with light performance profile turned on. Little note for that there for the battery life. If you're not having great battery life on your Z Fold 7, turn on that light performance mode. I promise you're never going to feel a thing in terms of performance, and your battery life is going to get better. And then, of course, we have the multitasking suite, and you can make some pretty strong arguments that Samsung has the most fully feature-complete setup out there. You can do so many things with their multitasking software. You have the 90-10 split, which works really, really well. I just clicked on something on accident inside the weather app, but you know what I mean. It works really, really well. And then, of course, if you don't want to do that, you can split screen this way, and then you can throw another app in down here. And then you can grab a third app and open that up as a floating window. You can just do so much. And this doesn't even obviously talk about something like Samsung DeX, which I've actually been enjoying so much that I changed my browser over to Vivaldi because Firefox does not do well on DeX for some reason, and this one actually does. That's how much I've actually been enjoying DeX. I changed my browser to make it work better. In terms of the rest of the software suite, it is a software that I actually do generally enjoy. I will absolutely die on the hill that Material 3 Expressive looks 10 times better than this. I think it looks better than anything else on the market, but there's a lot to like in One UI. For one thing, the level of customization is far beyond what a Pixel will allow. I really, really enjoy the Now bar, which we're going to get clones of that everywhere. But for now, hey, we have it here already, and it works really, really well. I keep missing my touch point, but you see what I mean. It works really well, and it's up there for timers and media. I really liked it when I'm watching TV on my Android box. A little thing pops up there that I can pause my TV with automatically. That is very cool. Their AI editing tools in their gallery app are actually pretty cool. Sketch to image still works quite well. And you can, of course, erase things from your photo just like you can in Magic Editor. Now, typically, I would actually prefer just using Magic Editor inside Google Photos, but this works really, really well, and it does add some other things, like I said, like Sketch to Image. There you go. Jet is absolutely gone. It's like she never existed. How impressive is that? It even cut out through the rails in the guardrail there. That's really, really impressive. As great as Circle to Search is, which it's very, very good, I use it basically every day. A lot of the time it's just to quickly search or quickly copy some text, but you can also use it to search for images as well, and it will quickly recognize what you're looking at, and that's very, very cool. Samsung also has their own sort of weird version of this called AI Select, and the way this works is a little bit different. So you can circle text, and it's going to give you contextually intelligent or relevant prompts like writing assist, because it knows it's looking at text, just straight up text extraction. But if you circle an image, it's going to switch over to drawing assist or generative edit, which is what you just saw a minute ago. We can jump into drawing assist using this as well. And now what we can do from here is we can say, let's take this image and let's turn it into a webtoon. You can actually type in some text and tell it more about what you want it to look like. We're just going to go with the webtoon style, and hopefully what it generates is something that looks a bit like that image, but in a different art style. If for some reason got rid of the dog and just kind of made the yard. Here's a better example. You can see an image that I actually fed it right down there, oil painting style, and that's what it came up with. I've actually used Drawing Assist to make several wallpapers quite successfully. Even though Gboard on this device does not have the proofreading feature that I really do miss from my Pixels, we do at least have this option, which is a little bit slower, a little bit clumsier, a little bit harder to just jump straight into. It's not one button press away, but it does work still, I think, quite well. And then, of course, you've got about a million ways to customize your device with Good Lock. It would take me a day to go through everything that I've done with Good Lock. I've been playing with this display assistant lately here as well. You can make it stay at peak brightness longer. You can make it switch to change its brightness dependent on the ambient light faster. Multistar has some cool DeX adjustments. Home Up is how I've actually changed my recent apps here. The level of customization is pretty much unrivaled still to this day. Again, this could be an hour-long video all on its own. Now, yes, Samsung does still have some application duplication going on, and I get that that does bother some people, but for me, that's a folder in my app drawer, and I just don't think about it ever again. In fact, they put most of these things in a folder for you already. So just throw the ones you don't want to use in there. You can uninstall quite a few things too. It's really not a big deal. There is so much packed into this phone, and yet for me, it does not feel like this disjointed, confusing mess. It feels like a mature, thoughtful, well-designed operating system, and that is a big part of why I really am enjoying the Fold 7. Now, the elephant in the room with these foldables in general, but specifically, in particular, the Z Fold 7 is the price. It is a very expensive device, and people are always going to ask, is it worth it? And the obvious answer is, for most people, absolutely not. That's why I don't recommend phones to people. I don't want you to go out and spend $2,000 and then come to me and say, this wasn't worth it at all. You told me that it would be. No, I didn't. Didn't say that at all. No matter how much I love phones like the Z Fold 7, that price is going to be a huge barrier of entry that is always going to prevent it from being a phone for the masses. That being said, I don't think that Samsung intends the Z Fold 7 to be a phone for the masses. I think that it is representing Samsung's return to form, proof that they can still make impressive hardware and marry it with thoughtful and mature software, a total package. I know that some of you are going to prefer the Honor Magic V5, some of you are going to prefer the Oppo Find N5 or the Vivo X Fold 5 or the Pixel 9 or 10 Pro Fold, but for me, right now, on August the 23rd, 2025, my favorite folding phone is the Z Fold 7. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.